It's rare that I'm speechless. But I want to be sure I understood. The people running the Department of Energy for President Biden's administration shoveled $93 billion, not million, $93 billion out the door in 76 days, and it just happened to be the time between when President Trump was elected and President Biden, their boss, was leaving. Is that right?
It is correct and distasteful. Confidence undermining.
My God.
Welcome back to Founding Voice America, the channel where truth isn't filtered, patriotism isn't mocked, and accountability is still expected from those who take your tax dollars. Today, we've got a bombshell. A stunning revelation that would make the Founding Fathers spin in their graves. A scandal so brazen, so arrogant, so un-American, that if it weren't on the record, you'd think it was fiction. Folks, this isn't a conspiracy. This isn't speculation. This is straight from a Senate hearing, facts that should infuriate every hard-working American who plays by the rules, pays their taxes, and believes in honest government. Let me break it down for you. $93 billion in 76 days. You heard that right. During the final 76 days before the Biden administration left office, the Department of Energy shoveled out $93 billion. Yes, billion with a B, in loans and financial commitments. Let's pause. How does a federal agency vet, review, and approve that much money in such a short time frame? Spoiler alert, they didn't. Senator John Kennedy asked a simple question. How do you do due diligence on $93 billion in 76 days? The Energy Secretary? He couldn't give a real answer. Because there isn't one. This isn't a clerical oversight. This isn't incompetence. This is what happens when a federal agency becomes a slush fund for crony capitalism, woke grifting, and leftist ideology disguised as climate innovation. No business plan? No problem. Senator Kennedy asked point blank, did these companies have business plans? No. Financial statements? No. Proof of solvency? Nope. So what did they have? Pipe dreams. Buzzwords. Promises to maybe one day build something, if they could find a location, if they could get their act together.
Mr. Chairman, I look forward to, we got a lot of work ahead of us.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Secretary, I want to go back to some of your earlier testimony, be sure I heard it correctly. The 76-day period you're talking about, that's the period between the time that President Trump was elected and President Biden left office. Is that right?
That is correct.
And during that short period of time, 76 days, how much taxpayer money went out the door of the Department of Energy?
From the Loan Program Office in loans and commitments, $93 billion. Well over twice as much as in the previous 15 years. So,
how do you vet and do due diligence on a loan in 76 days? One loan, much less $93 billion. How do you do it?
I think it's probably pretty clear it wasn't done in many cases. As I mentioned, I'm told I'm holding back clearly in place stuff. There is lots of funds that have gone out the door and commitments that were made from businesses that provided no business plan, no numbers about their own financial solvency or how this project
So
can
you're
actually
telling
work.
me that the Department of Energy, in the 76-day period, before their boss was going to leave office, gave or loaned money to entities that had no business plan?
Correct.
No financials?
Correct. A number of those were not were before the 76-day period as well. I've come in with great concern about how this institution, this great American institution, has been run and how American taxpayer money has been handled. I'm sorry everyone's upset that we're taking some time to do it, but what we've seen and what the record shows
I'm
is
not
just
upset. Could it be
irresponsible.
that a lot of people say you haven't returned your calls? Could it be that you and your colleagues have returned the calls, but the people calling just didn't like the answer? Could that be a possibility?
I'm not aware of that. You know, I give my cell phone number to any senator that
I know
wants
you
it,
do.
and I return my calls.
I mean, has your department gone dark? Somebody said your department's gone dark. Is it dark over there?
It doesn't look dark behind me.
I don't see any of you sitting on your hands. Somebody made that charge. I see everybody's hands. Let me ask you something else, Mr. Secretary. Does anybody ever come to the Department of Energy to get some of this free money and lie to you?
I have not experienced that, but I think it's a reasonable assumption that that has happened.
Does anybody ever come to you? Or is it conceivable that some of these folks that heard about this free money came to you with a half-baked idea?
I think it's very conceivable. In fact, I've seen such plans that were half-baked would be charitable.
That didn't have a business plan, right?
Correct. A promise to develop one, to find a location.
Just give me the money and I'll develop the plan later.
Correct.
And now you're going back through, not money that's already been contracted, but you're going back through and checking each one of these loans and these grants to make sure there was no stealing, aren't you?
We are.
And you make sure there was no incompetence, aren't you? Is that correct?
We're looking at that, and yeah, my blood pressure is rising right now just thinking about what we have seen and what did happen at the department.
And you're going to tell some of these boondoggles no, aren't you?
That's correct.
And they're going to be upset, aren't they?
That's correct.
And they ought to be upset, shouldn't they?
I don't think they should be upset. I think they should be ashamed.
It's rare that I'm speechless. But I want to be sure I understood. The people running the Department of Energy for President Biden's administration shoveled $93 billion, not million, $93 billion out the door in 76 days, and it just happened to be the time between when President Trump was elected and President Biden, their boss, was leaving. Is that right?
It is correct and distasteful. Confidence undermining.
My God. Look, I hope you take whatever time you need to go through all of these projects penny by penny. I mean, I've heard this testimony today. Well, it'll cost jobs in my state. If somebody steals $50 million and goes and spends the money in their state, that's going to stimulate the economy, isn't it?
Yes, it will.
But that's still stealing, isn't it? And it's still illegal, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, they were spending money at the Department of Energy like it was ditch water. Their budget went from $60 billion to $160 billion since fiscal year 2021. It just sounds to me like there were a lot of people coming to the Department of Energy who had all 4 feet and their snout in the trough. And I hope you'll turn down the boondoggles and refer the thieves to the Department of Justice.
We will indeed. Senator, the one complication in there, too, is mixed in there are good companies doing good things honestly with credible
Understand that.
plans.
And you're trying to separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do. That's our job, and we're doing it. But there's a lot of chaff.
Let me ask you one final question. Let me go back to how many employees you have. Now, there have been some allegations today that you've cut tens of thousands of employees. Is that accurate?
Well, I think the allegations were thousands, and our head count will ultimately be reduced by thousands, but we are doing it slowly.
You've got 16,000 now?
Yes.
And you think you can do it with fewer than 16,000?
Correct.
What's wrong with that?
I think it's just common sense business.
Yeah. Businesses do it every day in the real world.
American taxpayers deserve it.
That's never happened in the federal government. I mean, it's easier to divorce your spouse than to get rid of a federal employee up here. That's not the way the world works, is it, Mr. Secretary?
It's not the way the world should work. And I give enormous credit to President Trump, who had the boldness to say, if there's a right thing that needs to be done and it's difficult, please do it. And so, yes, this is new territory. This is not what happens normally in the federal government, but it is what needs to happen periodically in the federal government. And I give the credit to President Trump, who's willing to take the heat and has set the departments free. Make the changes you need to make to better serve American taxpayers and American consumers. And across his administration, that's what's being done.
All right. On that note, I just wanted to clear that up, Mr. Secretary, because I don't know you to be a person who doesn't return his phone calls or take care of business. And my guess is you don't tolerate people around you who take a cavalier approach to their job. And I wanted to get that on the record. I applaud you for being able to do the job with fewer people. Thank you for being here today. Thank you to all of your staff. Y'all can't take the rest of the day off. It's still the hearing record's going to remain open for a week. Some senators may send you additional questions. They might submit additional information for the record within that time. It's their prerogative. If they have questions, I hope you'll try to answer them in a reasonable amount of time. I want to thank you for being here today, and the subcommittee will now stand adjourned.
Thank you, Senator, and the committee. Thank you.
You and I couldn't get a $10,000 loan from our local bank without proof of income. But under Biden's Department of Energy, you could show up with a slogan and walk out with millions. And let's be clear, this wasn't green energy. This was green theft. This was bureaucrats backing their political buddies, funneling taxpayer cash into sketchy projects with zero oversight. Who's really getting rich? This is the kind of swamp behavior President Trump tried to drain. And now we're seeing the aftermath, the rats scurrying with bags of money while Americans are left holding the bag. Our economy is suffering. Inflation is out of control. Families are struggling to fill up their gas tanks, buy groceries, and keep a roof over their heads. Meanwhile, these bureaucrats were spending taxpayer dollars like ditch water, as Kennedy said. Think about it. If someone stole $50 million and spent it in your state, yes, it would technically stimulate the economy. That's how criminal money laundering works. But it's still theft. And theft is still illegal, or at least it used to be, before Washington turned it into an industry. The department has gone dark. Kennedy grilled the secretary on whether the Department of Energy had gone dark. And I applaud him. Because this is the other piece of the puzzle, accountability. You and I, we can't get away with this kind of recklessness. But in D.C., if you're part of the establishment, you can ghost Congress, refuse to answer questions, and act like it's none of our business where the money went. Well, I've got news for them. It is our business. That's our money. A department rotten with corruption. The Energy Secretary even admitted it himself. There were half-baked ideas. No documentation. No credibility. They gave away money with no plan, no audit trail, and no shame. This wasn't funding innovation. It was funding fraud. And Kennedy didn't pull punches. He said it plainly. There were a lot of people coming to the Department of Energy who had all 4 feet and their snout in the trough. And he's right. This is what happens when the government stops serving the people and starts serving itself. This isn't about left or right anymore. It's about right and wrong. And what happened at the Department of Energy was just plain wrong. Cutting the fat. Now here's the silver lining. The secretary says he's cutting thousands of unnecessary federal employees. And let me say this as clearly as I can. Good. It's about time someone in Washington remembered they work for us, not the other way around. President Trump gave departments the green light to clean house, to stop coddling incompetence and start delivering results. That's leadership. That's what real business looks like. If the private sector can do more with less, so can Washington. And if you can't justify your job in government, then maybe it's time you find another one, outside of the taxpayer's wallet. Hold the line. My fellow patriots, this is why we fight. Because while the media distracts you with nonsense, while they argue about pronouns and identity politics, your government is hemorrhaging money, your money, into the hands of frauds, failures, and friends of the regime. This is why Founding Voice America exists. To bring you the truth. To hold these elites accountable. To remind them that we the people are still watching. And we aren't going anywhere. To every senator who's afraid to speak the truth, take notes from John Kennedy. That man walked into a hearing and dropped truth like a sledgehammer. No spin. No sugarcoating. Just cold, hard facts. And to the Department of Energy? You better believe we're going to keep the spotlight on you. Because the American people deserve answers, and more importantly, we deserve justice. Let this be a warning to every government agency still playing these games. The days of free passes are over. We will dig. We will question. We will expose. And come 2024 and beyond, we're taking this country back. Back from the swamp, back from the thieves, back from the corrupt bureaucrats who forgot who they work for. This isn't just politics anymore. This is about survival, for our economy, our families, our future. So stay vigilant, stay loud, and most of all, stay free. This has been Founding Voice America. I'm your name, and I'll see you next time. And remember, liberty is never more than one generation away from extinction. Stand up, speak out, and never, ever back down. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.